Hi, welcome. In this video, we're going to go over assignment 4. So let's get started. So here in the assignments, or I can get also if I go through modules, we are currently in the module on file IO, structs, and intro to classes. So assignment 4 is going to have a struct and file input and output. I want to just reiterate that don't just jump to the assignment. There are notes and videos that go over the content and sample code that goes with the videos and notes that go with the videos. So this is all lecture material. There's 6 videos of lecture material that is before we will start working on this assignment. It is expected that you have gone through the lecture material. All right, so let's get started on the assignment. This assignment is right here, assignment 4. So I want to make sure that you realize that this assignment, we're going to be adding on to this assignment. So it's recommended that you, put some time into this assignment and understand what you're doing because for some of the future assignments, we will refer back to this assignment and we will be adding features from this assignment onto future assignments. So you're going to be submitting 2 files for this assignment. One will be your source code file. So in the last assignment, we separated our functions and our um, prototypes so that we got it to try out .h and .cpp files. We're not going to, this assignment, we're going to put all of our source code in one file. So you'll just have one source code file, which is your last name, A4, and it would be a .cpp file. But you're also going to uh, submit your input file because you're not going to be doing veggie. I have a veggie input file as an example, but I don't want you to use my input file. I want you to make your own input file based on your own struct. So let's download the instructions and get started talking about and explaining this assignment. So there's instructions here. There is also an input file for an example and template code to help you get started. And then, of course, where it says video coming soon, that's the video that I'm currently recording. All right, so let's open up the assignment instructions and take a look at them. So for this assignment, we're going to be learning how to put data together into what's called a struct or a structure. So we're going to use the same data types we've already been using, but you can put them into a little package or a struct, and then you're basically creating a new data type made of those member variables, all of the data. So in this case, my example is vegetable. You do not want to do struct vegetable. This is the example. You should pick your own topic. You should be interested in your topic. You could do car, you could do book, you could do flower, you could do jewel or gem, or you could do video game. Whatever it is that you are interested in, you're going to create your own struct. And you can see this is a keyword struct. And what I'm creating is vegetable. My vegetable has 2 strings, one string for the name, another string for the color. It has one integer, a unique ID. So no matter what you pick, you should have a unique ID. So each object or instance of your new, like each vegetable should have a unique ID number. You don't want to have, so if you do books, even though books have different titles and stuff, you want to make sure each object has a unique ID number, and that would be an integer. Other than that, you can pick your own member variables. So in this in this assignment, we're going to be reading the data from a file. So you're going to have 3 instances or objects of your new data type, and you're going to read that data from a file. So I do have my input file here. So I'm giving you an example of an input file. So this is my input file for my data. So the data is going to be read from the input file in order. So you can see I have the 2 strings. Then I just made up an ID number. I have the cost per pound and the price per pound. So this is one instance of vegetable. Then my next vegetable, it has the name, the color, the ID, the cost per pound, and the price per pound. And then I have my third vegetable. So you're going to make a file. You should not call it veggie input because you're not doing veggies. You should create an input file, fill it with data for 3 objects of your data type. You can put it in, you can put your data in any order. Like if you wanted to put the ID first, that's okay, but you should put it in the correct order in your file because the idea is that you're going to read the first one from the file. So all you're going to do in this assignment is read the data for the first one from the file and print it onto the screen, read the data from the second one from the file and print it onto the screen, and read the data from the third one from the file and print it onto the screen. There are issues in dealing with white space. So if you you can use different features to deal with the white space, but really that's not the purpose of this assignment. The purpose of this assignment is to create a struct, understand how to connect to a file, understand how to read the data from a file, practice more with functions. So I recommend that you just, and we're going to be using strings, so it's not a big deal about the length of your string, but I recommend not using white space in your string. So you will see I gave you different examples. You can do it either way. I also put both examples here. I have green beans like this, and I have Brussels sprouts like this. So you're just going to complicate things by adding white space on your strings. And that's if this was a string assignment, it would be that would be a very different. This is not a string assignment. This is a struct and file input assignment. So it's a struct and file input assignment. So strings is not something that you really need to worry about. So if you take a look, all you're going to do is you're going to have 2 functions. You're going to have one function that's going to fill all of the data from the file, and then you have a second function that's going to print the information onto the screen. So this is a sample of the output. It just it's going to read the data and then print the first one, read the data for the second one and print that one, read the data for the third one and print that one. And that's all you need to do for this assignment. We have weekly assignments, so the assignments are smaller, and then we're going to be adding features to this assignment next week. So it's very important that you understand how to do what you need to do for this assignment. Please do not use struct vegetable. Use a different struct, come up with something that, come up with something else. So now let's also take a look at the template code here. Like all assignments, I give you template code to help you. So I'm going to zoom in here on this. So this is so of course you need to add up here your name and the date and describe what the program does. So you describe what your struct is, what your some information about your struct, and keep in mind this is a class. So you're in a class and you want to practice and understand what's going on. So it's okay to have extra, it's really okay to have extra comments that describe things. All right, so then here we have our libraries we need to include using namespace standard, so we don't have to use the scope resolution operator throughout our program. It's global up here. Then you globally define your structure up here at the top of your code. I do want to reiterate that it is assumed that before you do this assignment, you have gone through and looked at all of the instructional material for this module. There's a lot of instructional material in this module that explains things. At the end here, I am introducing classes to you, but this assignment does not have any classes. We will be doing class design and doing classes in the next module, but I'm just getting you introduced to the difference between a struct and a class. But other than that, if you take a look here, the first video is just about structs, and there's some code to go with it. The second video is more about structs. The third video is about objects and file streams as objects, and there's notes to go along with that. And then there's some practice with files, reading data from a file, And so this gives you some tips on how to read data and connect to and read data from a file. And there's a video that goes along with that. And then here's another one, reading data from a file and video that goes along with that. So it is assumed that you do that before you do the assignment. And then when you start on the assignment, you'll have a good understanding of what needs to be done for the assignment. You will understand how to define your structure. Then your function prototypes will be up here. There's only two programmer defined functions. One that's going to take a struct by reference because you're going to fill it, and the file stream by reference. So you will connect to the file in the main function and then pass it to this function here. And then the other one is going to take a constant instance of the struct by reference because all you're going to do is print it onto the screen. So you have these two functions, and then you declare three objects or three instances of your type. So in my case, I would declare, vegetable, veggie, V1, V2, and V3. Then you want to connect to the file. Then here, if the file does not open and you can't connect to the file, you can't read the data from the file. So the way that I set it up here is I have an if. If it doesn't open correctly, then you're just going to end the program. If it does open correctly, so I used fin like cin instead of cin, I used fin for my IF stream. So when you declare IF stream, I declared IF stream fin. You can change that name. You can say in file. This is just the name of the object of type IF stream that I gave in my sample. So, and I wanted to just make sure that you understood that if it doesn't open, then you can't read anything from the file. So you don't actually have to exit because that's the only thing you're doing in this program. If you don't connect, then the program's just going to end because of this else here. So in this else, you would call the function to fill it. So keep in mind, you don't want to close the file because if you close the file, you have to reconnect to it. So you stay connected. You get the information by calling the first function, then print it onto the screen by calling the second function. Then because it's still connected, it will get the next set of information and then print it onto the screen. And then it will get the next set of information and print it onto the screen. And then you could close the file, fin.close. Here, you should do that when you're done. When you're done using it, you could do it inside of this else, or you could do it right before return 0. It doesn't really matter. And down below here is where your function definitions go. So this is not an extremely time-consuming assignment, but it's very important to help you to understand how to connect to a file, how to use a struct, how to use the dot operator, or the different fields of your struct. Make sure that your input file, is the correct name. When you connect here, you want to connect to the correct file. So like my file is called veggie input. And if I were to save it here, veggie input with that little 1 on there, because I have more than one, then it's not going to work because it's got to be the exact name. All right, so I will go over quickly how to do this in I could go over how to do this on the online compiler. So I'll just go here to all right, so I'm here. So all you do the same way we did it before, you create a new file. I can name this, what was it called already? Veggie input. Veggie input.txt. Yeah, it's very important that it's spelled exactly right here and it's spelled exactly the same in your code. So if this was veggie input with a capital I here, I just have to make sure that in my code, when I connect to it, that it is spelled exactly right. And then I just take this template here. And this is where my main would be. All right, so now I have to fill in everything and work on it. So you want to work on one thing at a time. So you need to define your struct here, and then you put your function prototypes here. You have you have two functions. You define your structure up here. So let's get the assignment here. Here's my struct. I don't know if it'll copy and paste from here, but that's all right. All right. So here is my struct vegetable that has a name, a color, an ID, a cost per pound, and a price per pound. And then when I declare an instance of it, it would be vegetable V1, V2, and V3. And then I need to connect to the file. So look at the notes and the examples and the sample code on how to connect to and open the file. Keep in mind that I have included for you here Fstream. So if you're going to read from the file, you would use ifstream fin. So I have declared the object of type ifstream. I named it fin. So it would be like cin. So you can name it whatever you want. You can name it file stream. I mean, you can name it in file, or, you can take a look at the sample code that's provided on Canvas here. So we have here is the first sample code, maybe, right? So here I called it in stream, and then this is how you connect. So this is just like that's in the assignment. So I don't want to give you everything because I want you guys to look things up and, figure some things out for yourself. But this part right here is if it doesn't connect. And if it does connect, then you just have to call your get information function once, then print it, then get the next one, then print it, then get the next one, then print it. You need to use the dot operator. So in order to get the name right here, that would be v1 dot name, and that would be a string, where v1 is a vegetable, v1 dot name is a string, v1 dot ID is an integer, v2 dot cost per pound is a double. All right, so this is not a very long assignment. You should, if you look through how to declare structs, how to use structs, and how to connect to files and read data from a file, then this is practice also using functions. And don't make any assumptions. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. And you should really understand this because for assignment 5, we will build on this assignment. So I just want to reiterate that we will be using some of the features in this as we move forward into future assignments. Thanks.